G'day, it's Robbie again. Well, the weather in Adelaide's been stinking hot, to say the least. We get it like this at times. You know, we get weeks of over the 30s, and we're going to be in, this week's multiple days of 35 plus C. So there's not a lot you can do. The only good part about this weather is it's good for drinking beer. So I've been flying the flag there. I've been drinking plenty of beer just to, put my effort in. And the only time I can work is sort of morning. I do a bit in the shed here, and I've been tidying up. Tidying up sort of something that you do if you've got a workshop. You tidy up and you make room, and you sell off a whole lot of stuff that you sort of don't need anymore, or you can improve the situation. And making room is something with a workshop you have to do, so that, if you don't make room, so you can move around the shed, well, how can you then buy bargains that come along and fill up the room with more stuff, so you then haven't got their room again? It's logical, anybody can work that out, even me. So yeah, I'm selling off stuff, trunks and stuff, and it's going along nicely. And I'll show you something I've sort of done to sort of improve the situation. First up, I must say, I've got a new camera I'm working with today. It's a GIT 2P action cam, and it's the same size as a GoPro. It's got a mic jack, so the audio is excellent. And I bought this to do on-road videos on the motorbikes mainly, and have a play around. It was only $200, it wasn't bad. It does a sort of a 4K video if you want to go up to there, but I'm not interested in that. The main thing I wanted it for was audio and compactness, and this one has a Panasonic lens. It's a GIT 2P, means P for Panasonic, which means it's got a 90-degree lens, which means you don't get any of that fisheye distortion or barrel type distortion that you get with a normal GoPro, so you get more like a regular image quality. So far it seems okay. I'm just still sort of playing with it. I haven't done a lot with it yet. It's been too hot. So okay, we'll look at what's been going on in the shed, how I've made room, and just a little bit of a catch up. And you can see how well the GIT 2P goes, made by the Git Up mob. It must be a mob of Gits, I suppose. Okay, we'll move on. Well, you saw where I sold off that old sea chest. And I've sold off another trunk like this in the meantime, a smaller one. And I was going to keep this. This is a beautiful old trunk. I've had this for a long time. I actually bought this. It's a beauty. They must have made 1 million of these in Australia. And they used to use them for travelling, put your goodies in there. And anyway, I've sold that. A guy's coming Friday to pick that up. But this is one of those things you have in the shed where it's good to have because you can put stuff in it. But then you can throw stuff on top of it, like goggles and earmuffs and paper and pens and rulers and tape measures and all that stuff you're using all the time, You don't want it on the bench, but you want it handy, so you just chuck it on. You have this one spot. Every shed should have this one spot. You throw all that really super useful, very often used stuff. The trouble is that, you put stuff in the trunk, and if you want to get stuff out the trunk, you've got to take everything off the top of the trunk to lift the lid, to open the trunk, to get into the trunk, which was a pain in the butt. And to make it worse, I had this next to the bandsaw on top of the pit boards to go down the pit. I've got a pit in the shed where you can work on the vehicles, trucks, whatever. So I've got every time I want to go into the pit to work on a vehicle, I've got to drag all this stuff out the way and then put it all back after it. It's driving me crazy. So 20 years later I decided, that system's no good. So I'm selling this, and I'll show you what I've done. Well, here it is. This is where the trunk used to be. And I used to also use the trunk to rest long stuff on when I used a bandsaw. And, it was a nuisance to get in the trunk, and I had to move the trunk. And as I've explained. So I made this up. I had some old shelves, steel shelves that have been laying in the shed, leaning against the wall for 30 years, I reckon. And I had some Dexian, we call this Dexian in Australia, it was channel iron with slots and drill holes in it. So I thought, you know, I really want something I can just wheel, you know, wheel it out of the way. And first I was going to sort of put a frame under that trunk. And I thought, that's a lot of rooting around, and you've got to bolt the trunk to the frame. And so I thought, no, we'll sell the trunk and we'll make up something out of whatever's laying around. And here she is, got lift up handles so you don't knock yourself. And she wheels, you can just, well, look at that, cool bananas, eh? How good is that? And I can get the stuff easy, throw stuff on there easy. The wheels are just some old wheels off of a treadmill, you know, those junk treadmills. Great stuff in junk treadmills, all sorts of goodies you can get out of them. But yeah, this is, you know, great. You just toss on your earmuffs and your specs and your pen and go straight to it. You've got to have something like this. I hate putting it on the bench because it's always in the way. And then, of course, you know, you've got your can of petrol down there. You always need a bit of petrol to wash off stuff and spare tool boxes. You can, you know, it's easy to get to. It's good. Under this steel shelving, I've got some more Dexian going crossways to give it some support. You know, if I put a big heavy piece of steel stock on there, well, you know, it could crush down the light shelf, but of course, being reinforced, it can't happen. So now she's good and strong, and it's light to, you know, light to move around. It's not a bloody great big heavy thing. So I was pretty pleased with that. But geez, I mean, you know, this all bolts together, and the number of bolts in this thing is like, you know, there's 6 on each corner. Oh, yeah, 6 on each corner. You've got a whole bunch of corners, and I was there for ages, you know, doing up these nuts and bolts and things. But that's it. So I was happy with that. And then, of course, you would have seen in old videos, I've got a bucket of air, what I call a bucket of air, which is that old gas cylinder, which is plumbed to take air from the main compressor. And then you can just disconnect it, take it out, and just blow up your flat tyres on your trailers and stuff. You know, no problem whatsoever. So dragging out hoses and running power cords around for air pumps, you just carry across your bucket of air, and it works good. But what I've done lately is I've also plumbed it in permanently. Well, not permanent. I plumbed it in so I can give the main compressor tank some extra capacity. So this acts as a reserve tank as well. So I leave it there all the time, just hooked up until I want to disconnect it and use it. And it gives the compressor tank another, I suppose, 30% at least. And it's quite noticeable, you know, when you've got air tools, it all helps. So that was another little project I just knocked up, just to sort of set up the hoses and the taps so I could swap it around, you know, quickly and easily. So yeah, that worked good too. It was interesting because I've had a number of people come, you know, buy stuff off me lately, and you know, I do buying and selling, and having the old ute is handy to be able to just toss stuff on. And a number of them come in the shed, and I've seen this little Sherline lathe, and they're all like, wow, that is just a pretty little thing, you know. And I mean, they didn't even know anything about lathes, but yeah, it did turn out really nice. This is cool. So I did turn up something on the other day. It was quite handy, it worked well. It's a nice little unit. So yeah, that was a good bargain. $100, eh? You know, this is where, you know, you make room. You can make room, and then you can buy all this sort of stuff. I mean, that's the whole idea, you know. You've got to make room, but then you've got to fill it up again, all right? Yeah, got to get your priorities right. So you can see that the shed's got a lot more room now than it had before, and I can get to the pit a lot easier. I got wine stored down there as well, keeps it cool, bottles of wine. I don't just drink cask wine with ice blocks in it. I often drink quality stuff with ice blocks in it as well. No, I'm only kidding. I drink the quality stuff without the ice. Yeah, so, you know, it's a good old shed, this. Okay, well, that's it from me. A bit of a catch up, and once things cool down a bit, well, then I'll get on and do a few more interesting projects, I hope, and hopefully get the motorbikes on the road and do some retro riding. Ducatis, yes indeed. Okay, that's it from me. See you next time. Cheers.